What's up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new story. Today we have a story of a kid in the subscribers class who keeps on bragging about how he has a real job, but he's just a Discord moderator. But then the kids and the subscriber in the subscribers class learn that the Discord mod has a girlfriend slash kitten slash whatever cringe thing you want to call it. And let's just say that it is a very sus situation. It is very, very Chris Hansen-y, if you're catching my drift without YouTube being big mad at me. So yeah, with that being said, leave a like in the video to claim your free nothing, and let's jump right into the story. So anyways, we're going to call the subscriber who submitted the story Aiden. So there's a kid in Aiden's class who we're legitimately just going to call him the Discord mod. I'm not even going to give him a name. I'm just simply going to call him the Discord mod. And here's the thing. No disrespect to the Discord mods in general, because I have a Discord server and some really great people mod that staff. But there's definitely a certain characteristic. Like you can, when I say Discord mod to you, you kind of have an image that pops into your head. So whatever image that pops into your head, make them even worse, and then multiply that by 7, and you have the Discord mod in this story. So anyways, there's a kid who comes into class every single day. He wears the exact same anime hoodie. He wears the same outfit every single day. He has this stained, greasy, kind of like crusty at this point, so it's like kind of like stiff because it's so crusty and gross, anime hoodie that he legitimately wears every single day. And the thing is, right, since the crust and the grease and the slime, it just never leaves the hoodie, people have just kind of come to the conclusion that the Discord mod has just never washed the hoodie. And then he also wears the same slides with no socks every single day. And let me just say, these dogs are barking. And these are some sickly, gross dogs that are barking right now, dude. Like, it is really, really bad. So anyways, this kid comes in every single day. And one day, he sits down. And this is before anyone knows, like, really that he's a Discord mod. I mean, they probably guessed it by, like, some other reasons. They weren't surprised by it, is all I'm trying to say. But I don't know if they guessed it, right? So he sat down one day. He's like, what's up? Also, yeah, I always make all the guys I find annoying in these stories Cartman voices. It's just how it is, right? He's like, wow, it's so hard to be so responsible sometimes. And, like, at this point, Aiden, the subscriber, and a few other kids are sitting around him, and they're kind of just like, what? He's like, it's so hard to be responsible sometimes, man. I'm so mature and responsible. And they're all just like, okay, this kid is obviously baiting us into asking, oh, why are you so mature and responsible? And then just allowing him to go on some kind of probably like tirade of, how he's better than everyone or something. Very standard spoiled kid Discord mod behavior. You already know how it goes, right? But they kind of look at him. And Aiden is not giving him an ounce of satisfaction, so he doesn't say anything. And so the Discord mod's like, it's so difficult to be mature and have a job. And at this point, Aiden was like, oh, did he, like, start working at the local CVS or something? Or what's the word with that, bro? Like, what? He's like, yeah. And at this point, like, Aiden's actually kind of curious what the job is. He's like, oh, what's your job? He's like, oh, I'm a full-time Discord mod. It's very difficult. And let me just say for a second, no disrespect to any of the mods on my server. They've had to deal with a lot of crap, and I'm never there on purpose because it's Discord. I can't show up, right? I can't do that. I'm sorry, guys. But they deal with a lot of garbage, so shout out to them, and it is very difficult. However, they're not going around being like, oh my god, I'm so mature. I have a real job. It's called being a Discord mod for 7 servers. Like, no, bro, they're not doing that. They're actually, like, they are real people that actually exist, unlike this kid he's not a person, bro. Man's just a full-on clown. But you'll understand why I'm going so hard on him in a little while. I mean, I kind of gave you an idea in the beginning of the video why I'm not a fan of this guy. But anyways, he's like, yeah, I have to mod 6 Discord servers. It's very difficult. I spend a lot of time, like at least 20 minutes every day, doing my Discord. It is such a difficult job. And at this point, Aiden's like, oh, so do you get paid? Just because he knew that the Discord mod kid definitely did not get paid. Sorry to my staff, I'm still not paying you. Anyways, you'll get a union if you'd like. No, I'm kidding. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Anyways, right? So, Aiden's like, oh, so do you get paid? You're like, well, no, but I mean, do volunteer firefighters get paid in money? No, they get paid in respect. And I am respected around those Discord communities. And Aiden looks at him, he's like, oh, so they respect you for being a Discord mod? He's like, exactly. When I walk into the general chat, they all bow down to me because I have the power to mute them, not permanently ban them, but I can kick them temporarily, and they don't want to mess with me. So when I come in, they all bow down to me, and they understand one thing about respect, and that it must be served up. They're all kind of just looking at this kid like, bro, he needs to chill out, bro. So they're all kind of like, Aiden and his friends are kind of like, oh, so you got a lot of respect around here. And the Discord's mod's like, yeah, basically, that's what I'm trying to say. I just got a lot of people respect the work I do. It's really difficult. Not anyone could be a Discord mod, bro. And Aiden's like, okay, cool. Like, I'm sure that respect will translate to around here. And he's like, and then the Discord mod's like, yeah, I'm already like noticing little things. Like, people are looking at me, and it's definitely not the stain on his shirt that's been there for a month. Oh, it's definitely like, oh, I think they're just looking at me and they're like, whoa, I wish I could be that guy. And Aiden and his friends are like, okay, sure, that's cool. All right, yeah, but okay, so the next day comes around, and the Discord mod continues to talk about how he is so mature and he has a job. However, it's funny. The Discord mod was sitting in the back corner of the room where Aiden and his friends sat that day. The next day he comes in and he sits in the middle of the room to the left, where a different group of people normally sit down. And Aiden and his friends legitimately heard him say word for word, bar by bar, like exactly what he said yesterday. Be like, oh my God, I'm so mature right now. They're all like, what? The kids up there are like, bro, what? He's like, oh, dude, I have a job because I'm an adult and I understand that adults just got to have jobs, bro. And they're all like, what? They're like working at the mall or something. He's like, no, I'm a Discord moderator for 6 servers. And they're all like, okay, I wouldn't call that a job. He's like, yes. And they're like, okay, do you get paid? He's like, no, but I get paid in respect. On all those servers, they fear me. And look, and the next day comes around, and Aiden and his friends are sitting back there, and he sees the Discord mod sit at the front of the class, is now talking with a group of girls, and Aiden just can't help himself, so he goes up to the front of the classroom to sharpen his pencil, but he literally, like, rotates the pencil sharpener at, like, 1 rotation per minute, because he just wants to hear exactly what's happening. So the Discord mod sits in the front of the class, where all the girls are, and he's like, hey, girls, what's good? And they're like, hello? What? He's like, oh, man, it sucks being so mature all the time. And they're all kind of just like, what are you saying? Like, I just don't understand. And he's like, oh, man, I'm just so worn out from my job that I have. They're all like, okay. He's like, do you want to hear what your job is? They didn't even ask. They're just like looking for the person who asked on this one. Oh, wow, he doesn't exist. No, but they're like, okay, I guess. By the way, if someone responds to you, okay, I guess, and they add in the I guess, that literally means no, bro. That means they're really not trying to hear or do or agree to or whatever they responded to you with. Take that as a no, basically. Or take that as the most reluctant yes. They're like a yes because they probably have to, but a no if they had a choice. Whenever someone says I guess after okay, you already know you're in the dog park at that point. But anyways, he's like, yes, I have a job and it is moderating 6, count them, 6, and he puts up 5 fingers, which, genius right there, 6 Discord servers. And they're all kind of looking at him like, what's a Discord server? And the Discord kid literally, like, falls over in his chair laughing, like, oh my god, guys, you don't know what a Discord server is. Like, do you guys not even join your communities of interest? Do you not even, like, join the TV shows that you watch that may or may not be My Little Pony as well as me? And you don't join the Discord servers to figure out, like, the other people of interest? Oh my god, guys, laugh and point. Yeah. Turns out that no one was laughing and pointing with the Discord mod because, believe it or not, most of them had a healthy social life. Not saying if you're on Discord 24/7 you don't have a healthy social life, but I'm also not saying that you do. So feel free to join my Discord server, but spend like 20 minutes or less per day. Just healthy rule of thumb. Just make sure you're getting out there. If I have to teach a lesson to the masses, go outside. Grass is green. Grass is good. Fresh air is good. Meet some people outside if possible. Human interaction is pretty important. Just a little word of advice. But anyways, the next day happens. And the Discord mod has already made his runs like around the place, explaining to everyone how he's so mature because he has a job or whatever. And this is where things start to go really, really, really south. Really, 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 really south, right? It just gets really suspect because these kids were juniors and the Discord mod had repeated the grades several times, which is fine. Sometimes you need more time to figure things out. However, this means that the Discord mod had turned 18 like a month ago. So he was officially an adult. So yeah, this is where the story starts to turn a little bit south. So anyways, one day the Discord mod comes in and he sits down next to Aiden and his friends. And Aiden and his friends are looking at him like, what's good, bro? Do you have to tell us about how mature you are again for moderating Discord servers? Because we've already heard the shtick, bro. We've already heard it. I don't think we need to hear it again. We got it. I understand. He's like, no. Hi, guys. Are you guys single and sad? You look very single and sad, Aiden. And Aiden did just happen to break up with his girlfriend 2 weeks ago. So he's like, well, actually, matter of fact, yes. Very recently. Aiden doesn't even know why he admitted to that because it's literally just giving the Discord mod more fuel that he definitely does not need. But he's like, oh, that's a shame because I've been in a long-term relationship for a while now. And she's beautiful. She is beautiful. Oh, yeah. And they're all kind of just looking at this kid. Discord mod's just like singing in a corner. Like, what was that song? Oh, no. The song is I'm Beautiful no matter what you say. I thought it was like that was supposed to be, I don't know. Anyways, sorry, guys. Discord mod can't break out into song anymore. But Discord mod was like talking about how he's got that like, oh, my God. She's so beautiful, guys. Yeah. And they're all like, oh, like, tell me about her. He's like, okay, well, she's my kitten. And they're all like, oh, cringe. No. Okay, so just another word of advice from the Connor Pugs channel. Don't call someone your kitten. That's fucking weird, bro. Stop. I never swear in the channel. I only swear when it's serious, and that is serious. Don't call anyone that, okay? Okay? Anyways. Yeah, so he's like, yeah, she's my kitten, bro. We've been together for so long. It's so great. And they're all kind of like, some of them started to raise some eyebrows. They're like, for so long? Like, how old is, what is the average age range of the people in your servers? He's like, oh, like 13 to 16. And they're all like, the Rock meme where it's like that explosion sound effect and he raises his eyebrow. Insert that right there, right? And they're like, oh, where did you meet your kitten? He's like, oh, in one of my Discord servers. Insert Rock eyebrow emoji or eyebrow meme with explosion sound effect again. And they all started looking at each other like, hey, yo, Chris Hansen. Yeah, but anyways, they're all kind of looking at each other. And he's like, yeah, she's pretty great. And they're like, oh, how old is she? And he's like, that is private information. I'm not going to talk to my kitten. They're all like, oh my God. Oh my God. And Aiden looks at his friends, and the Discord mod eventually gets up and sits somewhere else to brag about his quote unquote kitten, right? And Aiden talks to his friend. He's like, dude, we might actually have a crime on our hands. Like, this is like serious, bro. Like, we need to investigate. Like, we need to like go in and try and investigate this stuff, because what is happening right now? Yeah, so sure enough, the Discord mod is sitting there, and, he leaves his computer to go up to use the bathroom for the next 6 hours, because all he eats is Cheetos all day, so his bathroom trips are half of his life. But anyways, while he's off at the bathroom, Aiden and his friends sit down at his laptop, and, like, they see it, and they're like, okay, like, it's open. Like, there's no password. Because the thing is, he just left it. Like, he just left it unaccounted for. So they all sit down, and they're like, oh, God, it reeks over here. And I shouldn't say reeks, because that has a different connotation. It smells so bad over here. Oh, my God. Oh, God, what is this? And they sit down, and, like, Aiden's like, dude, I'm not touching this keyboard. You look at the keyboard, it is literally 50% keyboard, 50% gamer grime, grease, and Cheeto dust. It is the most disgusting thing ever. It is exactly what you expect a Discord mod keyboard to look like. 1-for-1 matches up 100%. If you saw this keyboard, you would have been like, okay, he definitely moderates at least one Discord server. Like, at least one Discord server he moderates, at a minimum, right? So, they're like, okay. They go open his Discord account. There's like 1,000 notifications. They're like, oh my God, like, we're never going to find this out. And they kind of like quickly glance through the names or run the cursor over the names to see who's texting. And that's when they see kitten, heart, and they're like, oh my God, this is definitely her. So they open it up, and she's like, hey, Mr. Moderator, I was wondering if you wanted to have a movie night tonight. I don't know. That's the best voice I could give. And so they're basically like, they find this, like, they scroll, they find this person's profile, right? And they click it, right? And they copy down the information. And after copying down the information, they start scrolling through the messages. And one of Aiden's friends, is sent on hall duty, basically to make sure that the Discord mod, when he's coming back, like, from the bathroom, which could be centuries for all the Cheetos he eats, and no water, drinks no fluids except, Red Bull and Cheetos. His diet exists on that, so he basically just goes to the bathroom for 7 hours per day. But anyways, when the Discord mod comes back, one of Aiden's friends will see it and then run back in the class and be like, go, so you don't get caught. Anyways, Aiden is scrolling up, trying to find anything incriminating, but unfortunately his friend runs back. He's like, he's coming back. Must have just had to go pee. So, like, Aiden, like, exits out, stands up, and they all go back to where they're sitting. And the Discord mod sits down, starts typing away. The thing is, though, Aiden got the contact information for the Discord's mod's quote-unquote Discord kitten, right? So the idea is he's going to go add this person and just ask some information, some very basic information. Say he's a friend of the Discord mod. So anyways, Aiden and his friends, they go back home, and today is a Friday. So they go back home, and they were planning to have, like, a get-together anyways. So they decide that they will be Chris Hansen. They will be Takeshi O Spaghetti-O word, right? That's their job today. And they take it with pride. So they sit down, and they create a Discord profile together. And they try and be like, okay, what possibly could I make this, right? And, another thing I forgot to say that they got information from, they checked, like, the 6 Discord servers that he was in, and they found the one that she was in so that they could add her naturally and pretend that they are friends or whatever, right? So, yeah, anyways, they make this profile, and it's like they're in some kind of, like, specific anime something, which is fine. You can like what you want. I'm not bashing that at all. But they were in a very specific, like, anime show one, and so they make the profile pic, like, the main character from the anime or whatever, and they join that Discord server. And they see at the top of moderators, it's like the Discord mod is very intimidating. Oh my God, guys. They all have so much respect for me because I'm a moderator in this server. Yeah, but anyways, they eventually find his quote-unquote kitten, right? And they talk to her in chat. They're like, hey, I'm new here. I was wondering if you would like to talk about whatever, right? And she's like, oh, yeah, sure. I'd like to talk about this anime or whatever. What do you want to talk about? Something like that. I don't know. And she's all like, they're all like having a conversation. The whole idea is they're going to make this guise of friendship so that they will eventually be like, oh, can you add me on oh, no, that's her voice. Oh, can you add me on a private chat? And she'd be like, okay, sure. And then they'd be like, how old are you, by the way? I'm 14. Just like that, because that's how we handle serious situations like that. Explosion noises. Anyways, so yeah, that's the plan. And let me just say that there is a massive plot twist. Not only the fact that, you know, it's a little suspect, but there's a massive plot twist. This is one of the best stories I've ever received. So you definitely want to stick around and hear this out. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying right now. Anyways, if you made it this far into the video, comment Discord down below. That'll be the secret word of the day. I'll try and heart a bunch of comments to say it, but I can't really guarantee too much because I got a lot to do today. But either way, comment that down below. And also, make sure that you, or if you prefer listening to these on Spotify, I have a Spotify link down below. All the stories are being re-uploaded on there now. And also TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. TikTok is where I repost my short videos. And then also Instagram and Twitter where you can submit your own stories. They'll be linked down below. And finally, the best way to support the channel is two things. First, finish watching this video all the way to the end, which the ending is pretty great, so I bet you'd want to do that either way. And then after you're done, go ahead and watch another story video. Like just watching another one after this one signals to YouTube that, you know, the channel's doing well, helps us reach new people. And a super easy way to do that is the Storytime playlist in the pinned comment down below. Makes it real easy to watch these videos. Anyways, let's get back to the story. So Aiden and his friends, they make the profile account and they log into the Discord and they find the Discord mod's quote-unquote kitten, right? And they talk to her and they're talking about like anime or some crap, right? And eventually they're like, oh, hey, like they send a friend request and she accepts it. So they start talking privately, right? They start first of all talking about like anime or whatever. And then eventually they get around to the asking of the age. And she's like, oh, I'm 15. Uh-oh, Mr. Discord mod. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yeah, so anyways, they're like, oh, okay. And they pretend that, like, they're going to keep on with the conversation, and they're pretending like, okay, whatever, like, we're just going to pretend like nothing very shocking just happened. We're going to pretend like we didn't have a shocking revelation of just a little bit of truth, right? We're just going to pretend like we didn't hear that. We're just going to pretend like that just didn't happen. Yeah, they basically end the conversation after that because they have all the information that they need. And they sit down, and they're like, what do we do? Like, what are we going to do about this? Like, the kids at school need to know. And Aiden and his friends are like, I just don't know what to do about this, right? So they call up one of their friends. That someone that is also in their class, but they're not as close with. And this is where the craziest plot twist of the story happens. So they're sitting down, and they're talking with this friend, and they basically are like, dude, they're like, I knew the Discord mod was like weird and stinky, but he's also like a weirdo too. Like, look at this. And his friend is like, okay. And he's like, I don't know if I should, you know what? It's going to come out anyways, so I might as well tell you. They're all like, what? Because at this point, they're like, you know about this? And he's like, yes. Like, did you know that the Discord mod and his kitten have never showed their faces to each other before? And at this point, Aiden, wait, did I call the main guy Aiden? Yeah, Aiden's like, wait, how do you know that? He's like, you also know that, you know, the Discord mod has never FaceTime with this girl. They'd never seen each other before. He's also never video called with her, never voice called. They've only typed. They've never spoken. They've never seen each other. And they're all just kind of like, dude, how do you know these things? Like, do you know these people, like, personally? Are you close personal best friends with the Discord mod? Like, how do you know this? And basically, the friend of Aiden and his friends goes on to say, do you ever think that, you know, this kitten wasn't actually who you think she is? And they're like, wait, wait a minute. And he's like, do you ever think that this kitten isn't even a she? They're like, wait a minute. He's like, yeah, I think you guys caught on, but I set up the Discord mod to see, and I made it very clear my age and who I was as this kitten, right? This is a honeypot, bro. This is a trap. And I've been planning to come out with this information on Monday when you get back. Everyone's like, yo! Yeah, so basically this kid in Aiden's class had been found the Discord mod very interesting and just wanted to see if, like, he would fall for such a thing. And, yeah, he did fall for such a thing. And he apparently, right, the friend of Aiden goes on to explain that he's made it clear a billion times that his character that he played was 15, right? That was not 18, had quite a range from him, right? Made it very abundantly clear, did not like, he was the one who started talking to her. He came on to her, right? He made it very clear that he was 15 a billion times, just so that, like, when the chat logs came out, the chat logs came out. And basically, right, he explained to Aiden and his friends that on Monday he was going to start telling people, revealed that the kitten that the Discord mod was, like, bragging about was actually him pretending to be a 15-year-old. So, yeah. Let me just say that that was the most craziest night they've ever had, having that revelation. I'm just like, oh my God, like, wow. So, yeah, Monday comes around. And a word gets around school so freaking quickly. Like, it is the quickest thing that gets around school. Like, basically, this kid just tells people and says, hey, tell everyone else. Like, make this spread. And he also sends, like, these, like, screenshots or whatever and all that kind of stuff. And they get into class, and the Discord mod is sitting there. And everyone's, like, turning around looking at him with this, like, this look. With this look, right? And he's just like, what's up, guys? Watch good. Look, he doesn't know yet. So he starts bragging about his girlfriend again. And it is the most awkward, uncomfortable thing because Aiden knows that everyone else knows all the details that he knows. So they're all like, oh, really? Like, someone responds because he's like, oh, yeah, my girlfriend and I are so tight. And someone's like, oh, you guys are so tight? Someone from, like, the front of the room's like, oh, you're so tight? Then how old is she? And he's like, dude, I'm not going to reveal her private information. That's like asking for her social security number, bro, or her address. Like, I'm not going to do that. You're definitely a weirdo who's going to, like, dox her or something. And they're like, oh, really? Really? And, like, the whole class is so tense or whatever. So eventually, the friend of Aiden who made the fake account to expose the Discord mod goes, this is the plan the whole time, but goes to the front office, goes to the front desk, basically explains everything. And the administration looks it over. It needs to be kind of walked through, like, what is Discord? What is a fake account? Are you sure this wasn't him knowing that you were pulling a funny prank on him? Eventually, they're like, oh my God, this is actually kind of bad. So yeah, they went to the administration with all this information. And eventually the administration actually comes to the conclusion that, this kid is a risk to have in their school. So, yeah, eventually they ask the Discord mod to come to the front of the office, right? You can hear it on the loudspeaker. It's like, Discord mod, come to the front office or whatever. And from what Aiden has been told, because obviously he wasn't there, but from what he was told, is the Discord mod was basically told, like, hey, man, you gotta go. Like, I don't know what else to say.
Click on the video on screen right now. I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it. Do it. Today we got some stories of how the weird kid in school got expelled. These were all pretty crazy, so I know you'll enjoy it. So sit back, relax, leave a like on the video to claim your free nothing, and let's just jump right into it. So we're going to call the subscriber who submitted the first story Benson. Yes, Benson, like Benson from Regular Show. For all the stories in this video, I'm giving the subscriber a name from Regular Show. You guys are just going to have to deal with it. Anyways, right, so there's a kid in Benson's class, and he was known as the weird kid, and we're just going to call him the weird kid. And this all happened one day. The weird kid was already kind of on thin ice. He'd already did some stuff that kind of like pissed off the faculty or whatever. But this all really started one day when the weird kid was sitting in class, and he actually had class with Benson, and he saw the kid in the back of the class frantically scribbling stuff on pieces of paper. So Benson looked over and he saw the kid just scribbling something down on a piece of paper, stuffing it in his backpack, taking out another piece of paper, scribbling something down, and it looked like he had a whole stack of printer paper with him. So Benson looked over and he leaned over. He's like, "Hey man, what are you doing?" And the weird kid looked up. He's like, "Oh, I'm about to pull a prank, dude." And Benson was like, "Oh, what do you mean by that?" And the kid is like, "Look." And he picks up one of the pieces of paper, he flips it over, and he shows Benson that on the piece of paper is a pee-pee. Yeah, the kid was drawing, not super realistic, but pee-pees, right? He's drawing big old wangs on all these pieces of paper. And he probably had 200 pieces of paper stuffed into his backpack already with frantically drawn pee-pees on them, right? So Benson's just kind of looking at him and is like, "Bro, what? Like, what?" And the kid's like, "Dude, trust me, it's going to be hilarious. Just wait and see." And Benson's like, "Okay, man, sure, whatever." Benson didn't really want to get too involved because he's like, I don't know, bro. I'm just not trying to get involved, man. I'm not trying to get myself into something I don't need to get myself into. But anyways, Benson would soon not get involved, but he would be a part of the celebration in a sense. So after class, the weird kid had finally drawn all 300 of the pee-pee pics, right? And from that point on, from class, he started galloping down the halls, throwing pieces of paper all around as if he was like, walking down the aisle and throwing a rice for a wedding or something like that. Like, I swear, it was that level, right? He's going down the hall, being like, "Penises for you! Penises for you!" And kind of just like throwing clumps of paper that have like penises drawn all over them. And people are just kind of like walking by and they're just kind of like, "What?" So some kid picks up the paper and they're like, "Why is there a big old penis drawn on this?"
"Penises for me! Connor Pugs!"
Exactly. That was a live demonstration of what happened in the story. But anyways, yeah, he's just going around. It's kind of like throwing like drawings of penises all around. I got to start saying peepees again. YouTube's going to get mad at me. It just has like thrown around things of like drawings of peepees, right? So people are really confused. And he's like galloping down the hallways. And actually he breaks into a classroom midway through the teacher teaching the class and throws a bunch of papers in. It says, "Peepees for you all." And all the kids in class just kind of are staring at this kid and are just kind of looking at him with this look of, "Bro, what?" Yeah, so sure enough, eventually he gets caught. So he's probably 200 pieces of paper into the 300. So he's distributed about 2/3 of the pee-pee photos, right? And that's when one of the faculty staff come up to him, grab him by like his collar or whatever and be like, "You're coming with me." They drag him to the front office. They sit him down and they said, "Why? Why did you do this? You were already on thin ice." And the weird kid's like, "Do what?" And the guy looks at him. He's like, "Bro." Okay, I don't think the principal looked at him and said, "Bro," but the principal gave him a look that is the equivalent to "bro," right? So anyways, the principal's like, "You obviously did it." And he like picks up his backpack and he opens it up and there's like 100 pieces of paper with peepees drawn on them. He's like, "Huh?" And the kid's like, "Oh man, that's a coincidence." And the principal's like, and the principal goes over, takes a piece of paper, and shows it to him. So basically, someone took a photo of him doing this, right? And they sent it to the principal, I guess, before they told, I don't know. Somehow the principal got a photo of him galloping around, throwing out pee-pee photos, and he shows him the photo, and he printed it out. He's like, "Look, there's no way you get around this. This is very clearly you." And the weird kid looks at it and says, "Can I look at this for a second?" And the principal's like, "Okay, sure." He picks it up. He just looks at it. And he looks up at the principal. He says, "Hey, can I keep this for memory's sake?" So we're going to call the subscriber who submitted the next story Mordecai. I already told you guys, I'm on my regular show arc, so we're going to get some regular show names. Anyways, there was a kid in Mordecai's class who was known as the weird kid. And he had been doing weird stuff for a very long time. And he had been accruing basically strikes against them for a very long time. But there were two major things that happened in this story that eventually got him full on expelled. The first one happened when Mordecai and the weird kid were in class together. So they were sitting in class, and it was a very boring day. Whatever the teacher was talking about was very boring, right? But normally you just, what do you guys do when you're bored in class? You sit there, you space off, you think about the girl who doesn't like you back, you go on your phone, you talk to your friends, you ask to go to the bathroom, which means playing Clash Royale for 45 minutes on the toilet. You do one of those things. However, the weird kid, right, decided that he was going to make class more interesting. He was going to save everyone. And you know how he did that? He looked over and he saw a fire extinguisher. So he literally gets up. Remember, they're sitting in class. The teacher's giving some kind of presentation. The weird kid gets up, walks over to the fire extinguisher, picks it up, and literally starts spraying all the kids in class with the fire extinguisher. So yeah, 1 second kids were sitting down, just spacing out or whatever, and the next second, they look over, and the weird kid is just foaming them with this fire extinguisher. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Everyone's thrown off guard. Obviously, kid gets in trouble for this, because you can't just like go over to the fire extinguisher, pick it up, and start spraying people with it. There are a few laws against this. But basically, the weird kid, for some reason, thought that Mordecai and everyone else in the class were like against him and ratted on him. I don't totally understand how he got to that conclusion. I think it was because they didn't stand, like when the teacher was chewing the weird kid out for spraying everyone with a fire extinguisher, I think he expected them all to like stand up in unison and be like, we stand by the weird kid. If he's getting in trouble, then we're all getting in trouble, which I don't know, that's kind of ridiculous. I really don't see why that would ever happen. But for some reason, the weird kid just felt betrayed by all the other kids. So the weird kid, he decided that he was going to, get revenge on all the kids. And spraying all of them with a fire extinguisher already put him on thinner ice than he already was. But the weird kid was about to go on even thinner ice. Well, he wasn't going to go on thinner ice. He was about to break through the ice with the next thing. So the next day, Mordecai and everyone else in Mordecai's class that had the same class with the weird kid that got sprayed with the fire extinguisher, they go back to their cubbies. Because they don't have lockers, they have cubbies. Basically, the difference is cubbies are like exposed lockers or whatever. And they had their backpacks in there. And when they approach their cubbies, there is a horrible, horrible smell coming from all these cubbies, right? And as they approach it, they realize that someone had gone number 2 in every single cubby. It was absolutely crazy, right? And at first they're just like, oh God, this is disgusting. But then they realized how just insane it is that somehow someone went number 2 in every single cubby. And honestly, probably eventually they would have figured out who it was. But they figured out pretty quickly when the weird kid was standing there, smiling with his arms on his hips, laughing at them, being like, I just pranked you guys so good. And that's when the teacher walks in and it's like, oh my God, what's going on over here? And yeah, so sure enough, the teacher comes over and there's just crap in all of these cubbies, right? And it's just like, what's going on? And the weird kid literally admits to it. He doesn't just admit to it. He's like, yeah, I did it. He said it so proudly. And then he went on to explain that the reason why he did number 2 in all these kids' cubbies was because they didn't, quote unquote, stand up for him when they should have, which, bro, are they really going to stand up for you when you spray them with a fire extinguisher because you were bored? And to say the least, the kid was already on thin ice, and this was an offense strong enough to get him expelled. We're going to call the subscriber who submitted the next story Rigby. I already told you guys I'm on my Adventure Time arc, so the next names will be Adventure Time names. Yes, at one point the subscriber will be named Muscle Man, so just wait for that. But anyways, we're going to call the subscriber Rigby. So anyways, there was a kid in Rigby's class who we're going to call the weird kid, but he was also known as a rock, right? Think about a rock. What is another name for a rock? Another name for a rock is a stone. If you were to replace ER at the end of stone instead of rock, right, that would be someone who enjoys adult grass. I'm saying this in euphemisms because the YouTube algorithm will smite me if I say it in actual words. So this kid was a big fan of the adult grass, and he was a rocker. Not actually, replace it with stone, but I think you guys know what I mean. But he was also kind of weird, kind of kept to himself, but he also never was super blatant about it. He would do some stuff in school, which, I mean, I hope you guys already know that that's a terrible idea. You will get caught. But, you know, when he ever did stuff in school, he'd either make sure to do it before and just come in all like that, or he'd be very discreet with it, which, you know, it's a little bit hard to be discreet. But one day, this kid kind of just decided that he was no longer going to be discreet. He decided that, like, one day, he was going to just do what he was going to do with the adult grass in the middle of the playground. So there's something, okay, how do I phrase this? When you hit a drum, it goes like bong, right? So take that sound, and that's a word for something that you can inhale the adult grass with, right? It's not very incognito. So this kid, who is a big fan of this stuff, who is always very discreet with it, right? He would never, he would come in a little bit like that, but he would never do anything that would get him blatantly in trouble. One day, in the middle of just, because they have this like, the high school is also attached to a middle school, so they have a playground area for recess or whatever. So when the kids in high school have free period, they can choose to go out there if they'd like to. One day, Rigby, the subscriber, was just outside hanging out with his friend, and there's like a teacher out there watching or whatever, and the kid, the weird kid, who is normally pretty chill and relaxed and never really got involved in that stuff, literally took his drum sound. If you guys remember what I called the drum sound earlier, I have to speak around it because I don't want YouTube to be too mad at me. He took his drum sound outside into the middle of the playground and just started ripping it. Yeah, took massive hits of it in the middle of the playground, which at this point Rigby was looking at him, and he kind of like, you know, nudges his friend. He's like, dude, like points at him, and he's like, do you see that kid? And this Rigby's friend's like, yeah, what? Like, no way he's doing what I think he's doing. And Rigby and his friend are just looking at this kid. Middle of the playground, does not care, apparently, about anyone or anything. He was probably on something else by the time he did this, because no one thinking rationally would ever do this, right? But yeah, Rigby and the friend were not the only two people to see this, because the teacher, who was also outside checking in on everyone, or not, who was like monitoring everyone, making sure that they weren't doing anything too crazy, she also saw this, and I think it took her a second to realize what was going on as well, because, I don't know, I guess I would not have expected that. And, yeah, sure enough, the teacher eventually goes over, is like, what are you doing over here? Walks over to him, grabs his device or whatever, his very big device, picks him up. I think at this point, Rigby, the consensus was that this kid was definitely on something else by the time he was doing this, because it was just really out of character for him to just not care at all and do it in front of, like, the teacher in the playground. That was just totally out of character. But either way, he's dragged inside, and Rigby and his friends don't see of him for, like, weeks. And at this point, they assume something bad happened, but eventually they get confirmation that this kid did, in fact, get expelled. So we're going to call the subscriber of the next story Skips. I told you, I'm on the Adventure Time arc. All the names will be Adventure Time names, but regular show names, my fault. Anyways, so Skips was in class, and there's a kid, and this kid was a very weird kid. He was just known as, like, the weird kid. He was a weirdo, man. And girls were kind of weirded out by him. Guys didn't want to associate with him. He was like, I don't know. He was like caught watching very weird anime, if you know what I mean. Like the stuff that would not be safe for work, which, I mean, I really don't care what you watch. But bro was really watching that in class, which that's a whole nother story. But this is not the story about that. This is a story about how this kid got expelled. So he was sitting in class. And Skips was sitting in class with him too. And this kid was sitting kind of in the back row. Skips was sitting in the middle row. And Skips just decides to, you know, he's sitting in class and he just looks behind him for some reason. I think he was just kind of bored or something. And he looks behind him and this kid, the weird kid, right, the sus kid, he has a big hoodie on. And Skips looks behind him and he sees that he has his hoodie over his knees. So his like knees are like pulled up, has his hoodie over them, and he also has his head under his hoodie. And the kid's like vibrating up and down. And Skips is like, the fuck? What? Like, what is bro doing over there? And Skips is just looking at him. And then Skips has a terrible realization. It's a slow sinking sensation. Skips realizes that this kid is, how do I put this? Can you guys figure it out? Do I have to say it directly? This kid is doing something that you do in the privacy of your own home, I guess. All right, this kid is I think I'm far enough in the video that the ad checkers don't read it. This kid's beating off in class, bro. It's so obvious. And Skips is the only one to see this. So Skips is looking behind him. He's like, oh my God. And Skips immediately turns back around and faces forward. And Skips is not going to say anything because he doesn't want to cause any trouble. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment weird down below. That'll be the secret word of the day. I'll try and hard as many as I can. No guarantees, though. Got a lot of stuff to do. Subscribe if you're new. And, yeah. Anyways, so Skips he's not trying to make a problem out of this, right? He's not trying to be that guy who turns him in because he's like, I don't want to get involved. I'm not trying to deal with any of this. But eventually, another kid turns behind, just because, you look behind yourself sometimes. I don't know. Another kid notices this, and he just starts yelling. He's just like, oh my God. And that's when everyone turns around, because if someone screams, oh my God, you're going to turn around. You're going to make sure that there isn't some kind of like serial axe murder in class or something. So someone like turns around and points, you're going to take a look. So at this point, the entire class looks around. They all see what Skip saw. And even the teacher at this point looked over too. The weird kid immediately stops and like pulls his head out of the hoodie or whatever and just acts as nonchalantly as possible. But it was too little, too late, as everyone knew what was going on. Everyone saw what was going on. Immediately, the class erupts into conversation of like people talking, people being like, oh my God. And the teacher's like, weird kid, obviously says his real name, but I don't know what his name is. It's like, weird kid, what were you just doing over there? He's like, I don't know what you mean. I wasn't doing anything. The teacher's like, that's not true. You weren't doing nothing. And the kid's like, he was beating his dick. I should probably edit that out. It's too late. I don't edit anyways. So yeah, the whole class erupts into like laughter. People are pointing. It's a whole scene. Whatever lesson plan that the teacher had planned at this point, completely thrown off guard. It's just, the teacher doesn't really know what to do. The teacher tells him to go up to the front office, and, Skips does, or not Skips, that's a subscriber. The weird kid does. The teacher sends up a note. And there's like 15 minutes left of class, and the teacher's just not able to control the class. I think the teacher was pretty shocked himself, but instead, you can't go from that happening in class to then learning about like slopes and calculating rate of change, right? You can't go from that to that. You just can't do it, right? Yeah, exactly. And it's just like the whole class was talking about the thing the whole time, and immediately, right, kids, as soon as class ended, word spread like wildfire, because this school, like, some things happened, but, like, something like that was just interesting enough that everybody wanted to know about it. Everyone wanted to hear about it. So, yeah, Skips became pretty famous at the school, at least for the couple hours before he was eventually expelled. Which, come on now. You can't be doing that in class and not expecting something bad to happen, bro. Anyways, final story of a weird kid getting expelled. We're going to call the subscriber who submitted the story Muscle Man. His regular show names. Anyways, there's a kid in Muscle Man's class who never showered. And I don't mean like showered once a week or twice a week, or even twice a week can be acceptable, I guess. This kid like never did. So he had this really thick coat of grease in his hair. Like, bro was shiny. Like, he would reflect. Like, if you shine a light on him, it would reflect right back at you. So there's another kid in Muscle Man's class. There's the kid who never showered, but then there's also this kind of, like, sketchy kid who's always, always kind of riding the edge or whatever. I don't really know how else to put it, but he was always doing stuff that was very questionable, to say the least. And one day, the kid who never showered was sitting in class, and Muscle Man was sitting in class too. And all of a sudden, Muscle Man hears some kid yelling. He turns around and he sees the kid who never showers. He sees his hair lit on fire. Yeah, so apparently the kid, right, the weird kid who sat behind the kid who never showered, saw how greasy his hair was and took out the lighter that he smuggled into school, probably like smoked cigarettes or something behind the school, right? Took the lighter and was just like, I don't know. He probably thought, oh, I'll light one strand of hair on fire, like it'll be fine, right? No. I mean, first of all, what's the logic behind that? Like, oh, I'll just light one piece of hair on fire. It's definitely not all going to like explode. It's not all going to catch on fire, man. Just some of it. Of course, bro. That makes a lot of sense. But anyways, right. Yeah, his entire hair caught on fire. Thankfully, though, the teacher was quick with it. Teacher grabbed the fire extinguisher, just blew it all over his head, right? And Muscle Man was not expecting to see this kid's head lit on fire, but it happened. Immediately after the teacher realized or checked in to make sure this kid was okay, the teacher went back and grabbed this kid, right? You know, first of all, he grabbed the lighter out of this kid's hand and grabbed the kid and dragged him up to the front of class and dragged him out of there. And sure enough, believe it or not, you actually will not be allowed to stay in school if you light another kid's hair on fire. I know that's crazy, right? Ridiculous. And the kid was telling them, because like a kid really didn't want to get expelled, and he was already on thin ice, and he was telling them, look, I didn't mean to do it. It was an accident. Like a spark flew from my lighter. And first of all, that was definitely a lie. This kid definitely did intend to set this kid's hair on fire, which is pretty messed up. But even if a spark accidentally flew from his lighter, the administration still told him, like, okay, first of all, very unlikely story, but even if that was true, right? Even if you were telling the truth, you still can't, it's still very, very like illegal to bring a lighter to school. It's still very, very much against our rules. And we would punish you basically the same for even just having a lighter at school. So the weird kid wasn't able to get out of this one, and he got expelled. And Muscle Man never saw him again in school, but saw him once, like years later in the mall. This kid, like, even though he was kind of like weirder, like definitely was on the edgier side, Muscle Man had some good conversations with him. So Muscle Man, when he saw him in the mall, went up to him and said, hey man, how's it been going? And the kid actually said, things have been pretty good. I've been going to a school that's definitely a bit more better for people like me, but I've also picked up like a hobby of working on cars, and I got an internship this summer at the local car place, and my life's actually going really well. So even though this kid got expelled from his main school and was doing some pretty messed up stuff, it sounds like he got his life together, which you just simply love to see it. Click on the video on screen right now. I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it, do it. In today's story, the subscriber's friend's mom actually tries to hit on him, and, very obviously it gets pretty weird. Gets pretty weird. It's a bit of an understatement, but yeah, enjoy. So the subscriber's son in this story, let's call him Tom. And so Tom has a really good friend. He's known this friend for a very long time. And let's call this friend Ben, right? So Tom and Ben have been friends for a very long time. I think they met like either late in middle school or early in high school. And now they're both off at college. I think like it's probably like middle year for college. So like I think Tom's like 20, 21 or something like that. Like he's pretty much, he's older, right? And he hasn't seen Ben in a while because him and Ben used to like hang out all the time in high school or whatever. Like they'd hang out, they'd try and get the same classes, they'd have like sleepovers every week. And then they both went off to different colleges, and it was a little tough. Like it was hard at first, but obviously life moves on, and they were both back for the summer because this was over the summer, right? They had summer break. They didn't have any internships that they were doing at this point. They would probably have to do it next summer. So they kind of knew that like this summer was like, it wasn't the last summer that they could do something like this, but it was probably the last easiest summer, right? It was the easiest summer in the upcoming future for them just to, hang out and reconnect. So, Tom, reaches out to Ben and is like, hey, dude, like, I haven't seen you in forever. And Ben's like, bro, like, it's been so long. And, Tom's like, hey, do you want to, like, hang out at some point? And Ben's like, dude, like, I've been having, like, my mom bought this, like, this grill type thing. We've been having people over, dude, like, come over to my house. We're gonna have a barbecue. We're going to grill some meat. We're just going to chill outside. Like, maybe we can invite some of our other high school buddies if you'd like, or it can just be us. Like, it's going to be a really good time. And, Tom was like, dude, that sounds awesome. Like, of course. And he lists off a couple people that he, maybe wants to see. And Ben's like, bro, 100%. I actually had one of them over, like, not that long ago. Let me reach out to them. Can you do it in a week? So, yeah. So, Tom, in a week from now, will be going over to Ben's, just, to catch up with them, have a bit of a barbecue, and just have a really good time. Or so he thinks. Definitely doesn't think it's about to get super awkward. Definitely has no idea that, like, dude, it's about to get pretty bad. Anyways, right, so a week passes, and, Tom, he drives over to Ben's house, and on the drive there, it's just, like, really nostalgic, because, like, he gets to a point where he remembers, like, the drive, because, like, his mom would always drive him there on, like, I don't know, like, on weekend nights to, like, sleep over, and maybe, like, Ben's mom would pick them up or whatever. It just started to, like, all start to come back to him, especially when he pulled into the driveway, and he gets out of his car, and, like, Ben, I don't want to mix up the names. Tom gets out of his car, and Ben walks out of the house, like, bro. And then they just have this, like, one of those, like, bro hugs or whatever. It's just, like, a very wholesome, great moment. Definitely the wholesomeness is not about to be absolutely obliterated, absolutely torn to shreds, absolutely nuked or anything like that. Definitely not. That's definitely not what the story's about to... All right, you get what I'm saying. Anyways, right, so it's probably like 7, maybe closer to 8, and, it starts to get a little dark, and, they're going outside, and, Tom goes in the house, and Tom and Ben are just talking, like, oh, how's college been? Because they talked a little bit, but, like, they've not actually really, like, seen each other like that. They're like, hey, how's college been? Like, how's so-and-so? I haven't seen him in so long. Like, oh, I didn't know he's doing that. Like, all that kind of, like, the basic catch-up stuff. And, they take out some, like, steak or whatever, and whatever they're going to grill. They head outside, and, the people that show up, like, some of his, like, high school friends start showing up. There's probably, like, 3 others. And at this point, it's like, Ben's mom also kind of wants to be, Ben's mom also wants to be out there just to kind of hang out with them for a little bit. And, Ben doesn't mind. Tom doesn't mind, like, Ben's mom was always pretty cool. Like, she was always pretty chill with them, so they were totally fine with her being there. So they were just out there, grilling some meat, all, like, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 of them at this point, which is, like, Tom, Ben's mom, and a couple friends, and they were just out there having a pretty good time. And they were also consuming adult apple juice, adult beverages as well, as, as one may do, which makes one's judgment sometimes get a little iffy, but we'll get into that a little later. Anyways, right, so they're out there, they're chilling, they're talking about, like, whatever. And then this is the first. This is where things start to go a little bit downhill. This is where things start to go off the deep end. This is where, things start to just not do so well. It's kind of just like, I don't know, the first warning sign. And obviously this sign alone wasn't, like, enough, but it was obviously, like, if you saw a full picture, it was very clear, but at the time, like, this really didn't seem like anything. And I'll just say it. So, right, they're standing around, and then Ben's mom makes a comment. There we go. A comment to Ben, or to Tom, right? Ben's mom is like, oh, Tom, like, do you have any girlfriends, right? And Tom's like, hey, Miss whatever, right? Miss Ben's mom, like, sorry, I'm in a bit of a rough patch right now with the ladies. Like, it's unlucky. It's a little unfortunate. And she's like, oh, I'm surprised. I mean, you're such, a good-looking young boy. And obviously, right, parents say this all the time. Like, they're going to say that. Like, if someone's like, oh, no, I don't have a girlfriend right now, it's a little tough, they're not going to be like, well, that makes sense because you're ugly as fuck. Anyways, right, no one really finds that comment weird, as if I'm being honest, it wasn't that weird in that situation. It's kind of like a standard things moms might say. Like, it was pretty run-of-the-mill, if I'm being honest. Like, that really, if I was in that situation, or if I was someone there, like, being a bystander, and I didn't, like, know anything about, like, what was about to happen, I would have honestly thought nothing of it, man. I would have thought nothing of it. It would have just seemed like another standard normal comment that people make, like, honestly. But, you know, the night goes on, and Ben's mom, you know, consumes more adult beverages. And if you don't know, the more adult beverages you consume, the adult apple juice, right, the worse and worse your judgment gets. Probably if you're thinking something and maybe it doesn't make a lot of sense to say it, or if you want to do something, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to do it, the more of this adult apple juice you consume, the more likely you're going to make a decision that, I don't know, maybe you'll regret the next day, possibly maybe 100,000% in this case. But yeah, anyways, right. So as the night went on, you know, Ben's mom, you know, brought it like randomly, like there was a bit of a lull in the conversation. Like it was no way connected to the comment she made, like probably like an hour ago at this point. And she just looks at a Tom and she's like, Tom. And Tom's like, yo, what's up? She's like, I'm so surprised you don't have a girlfriend. Dom's like, you know what, low-key, me too, you know, he's like, like, yeah, like, unlucky, like, tough, hate to see it, but it is what it is. And Ben's mom's like, no, Tom, like, I'm really surprised. You are a really good-looking young man. At this point, Ben's like, hey, no, he's just a little bit like, okay, Mom, thanks, that's cool that you're telling my friend this, that you're really emphasizing how he's a good-looking young man. That's great. Thanks, Mom. Like, that's definitely not weird at all. Definitely 100% not weird at all. This is normal. This is fine. Everything's okay. So anyways, right, Ben actually, like, steps in and, like, changes. He basically goes in and swerves the conversation because he's like, nah, dude, this is getting weird. So he, like, changed it to the topic of, like, how people are doing from his high school, or just, like, talking about, like, reminiscing about the past, or just something like that. Anyways, right, it's getting, like, 11:30, maybe even close to 12, so it's probably time to wrap stuff up. So anyways, right, you know, they let the fire burn down a little bit. They turn off the gas stove or whatever, and, you know, the high school friends, they kind of depart. They say, I'm gonna head out. But, you know, Tom's a good kid, so he decided to stay and help Ben and his mom, you know, clean up. So basically, right, you know, Tom's like going around picking stuff up, and Ben basically says, hey man, appreciate you sticking around to help me out, just bring everything into the kitchen. I'm gonna go. Like, he went to go do something. I don't have that detail, but he went to go do something, and it was just Ben's mom and Tom bringing stuff back into the kitchen. Anyways, right, so, you know, Tom and Ben's mom, they're bringing stuff into the kitchen, bringing stuff from outside back in there, and when, you know, they kind of, like, cross paths, and they're both in the kitchen at this point. And, you know, at this point, Ben's mom is like, brings it up again. She's like, I'm so surprised you don't have a girlfriend. At this point, Tom's like, okay. Like, this was a little weird. Totally cool the first time. A little stranger the second time. And completely weird the third time. But okay, you know, it's a compliment. It's not like you're saying you're ugly. Like, I think you're super ugly. I think you're so ugly that no one would ever love you. And saying that again and again and again. Like, it could be worse, I guess. And then Ben's mom, right? She's like, oh, I'm so tired. I'm so exhausted. I had such a long day. Tom was like, he's like, okay. And Ben's mom's like, oh, I'm so tired. Oh, I'm so sore. And he's like, no, this can't be going where. But Tom's just like, dude, this can't be going where I think it is, dude. No shot. And Ben's mom's just like, oh man, I'm just gonna lie down on the couch. She lies down on the couch. Tom's like, that's probably a good call for muscle relaxation. I would keep lying there. Let me go pick up the other stuff outside. He turns around to go outside, and Ben's mom's like, Tom, come back. Don't go away just yet. I have a few more questions for you. At this point, right, she had a lot of adult apple juice, and like it was getting pretty weird pretty fast. And she leans over and she looks at Tom, and she's like, Tom, you know I like you very much. At this point, Tom, he's just like, okay. And she's like, Tom, I'm so sore. Can you give me a back massage? Like, Tom, he's not a fool, right? This kid's smart. He's got a good brain on his head. He knows exactly what's going on. And he's just like, maybe. And that's when Ben walks in. Today's secret word is cookout, so C-O-O-K-O-U-T. You can do 1 or 2 words, I don't really care. Comment cookout down below. I just like to see how many people made it this far into the video. I'll try and heart as many as I can. I can't heart them all, but I'll really do my best. And yeah, in some videos, I'll randomly shout out one channel member who commented on my videos. So in this one, I'm actually going to shout out 2. So yeah, on screen, shout out to you guys. Thank you for becoming a channel member. You guys don't have to do it, by the way, but if you want to, there's a join button. Totally up to you once again. And today is your lucky day, guys, because for every single person who leaves a like on today's video will actually receive literally nothing. I'm incredible. I'm feeling like the spirit of generosity radiating through my bloodstream. It just feels so good to be so generous and give you guys nothing. So yeah, leave a like in the video. Anyways, so at this point, mini recap, right? Tom's in the kitchen with Ben's mom. Ben's mom asked Tom for a massage very weirdly. Ben walks in, and at this point, like, Thomas is looking at Ben. Because he's terrified that Ben thinks that he's trying to, like, seduce his mother, right? And it's not the other way around. But thankfully, right, you know, Ben had been kind of like, he got back earlier than they thought, but he kind of, like, hid outside the door. So he was listening to the whole conversation. And he also, like, knew what, like, Ben's mom, he knew what his mom was saying, like, before to Tom. And he also heard, like, what, you know, his mom said to Tom, like, when he wasn't there, which was like a minute ago. And then also how weird, like, how Tom was, like, trying to get out of the situation very obviously. So Ben, like, walks in the kitchen and is like, "Mom, like, what are you doing?" And Ben's mom, right, at this point, wasn't in, like, the correct mindset to really, like, respond or take, like, the situation that serious. Like, she was kind of like, "Oh, whatever, dear. Like, I was just talking to your friend Tom, that's all." And Ben was like, "No, Mom, you've been being weird all night, and now you just were weird again and asked him for a massage? Like, what the what? Huh? Like, why?" And she's like, "Oh, he's just your friend." And she kind of, like, turns to him as if, like, he's not there. "Your friend is so cute, Ben." And Ben's like, "Mom, what? Mom, go to bed." And he turns to Tom. He's like, "Tom, like, I'm so sorry. Totally feel free to leave. Like, no hard feelings or anything." And Tom's like, "Yeah, I think I'm going to slip out. This is totally fine. Don't worry about it. Like, your mom had a little bit too much apple juice. Like, totally chill. Like, don't worry about it." And Ben's like, "Dude, this was like a reunion. I'm so sorry it ended like this." And Tom's like, "Dude, don't even think about it. I'm going to round up and kind of forget that this part even happened. I'm just going to remember the good parts. Don't even worry about it." So yeah, so Tom drives back home. In the whole car ride back, he's like, "What the fuck?" And he actually, like, funny enough, he like calls up one of the other friends who was there. And he's like, "Dude, do you remember, like, what Ben's mom said to me?" And he's like, "Yeah, it was a little weird." And then, you know, Tom goes on to explain everything that I just explained to you guys. And the friend is like, "Dude, what?" Anyways, right, so, like, the next day rolls around, Tom checks his phone, and he gets a text from a number that he doesn't necessarily recognize, and then, you know, he reads into it, and apparently it's actually Ben's mom apologizing for what happened last night, saying that she totally, like, she had way too much apple juice, and that she barely remembers it, and she's so sorry, and she really doesn't mean anything by it, whatever she said. And, you know, Tom responded, like, "Dude, like, Ben's mom, like, don't even worry about it. Just have a good day. I don't really care, honestly. I know you weren't, like, in the best state of mind at that point, so I really don't care. You're off the hook." Subscribe if you haven't already, and then go ahead and watch another video. There's some on screen. Just click one of them now. Do it. In today's story, the subscriber has a crazy substitute teacher who literally does the unthinkable, and, well, I'm just not going to spoil it. Enjoy the story. So the subscriber's in 6th grade, and he's in a history class. And in this history class, it's kind of like a world history class. It's kind of like an everything history class. But they're currently on a unit on Europe. That'll be important later on, not just like random useless details, I promise. So one day, the subscriber, and let's just call him Jimmy. I have not been giving the subscriber like a name recently. I've been calling him the subscriber. Let's call him Jimmy. Who doesn't love a good old Jimmy, right? So Jimmy came to class one day, and he thinks history class is okay. He likes the teacher. He thinks the subject is okay. It's not his favorite class. It's not Jimmy's favorite class, right? But he still enjoys it. It's a decent class. Teacher's nice enough. It's not too hard. It's just kind of like a chill class with some okay people in it. Some of his friends, some people he's kind of boys with. It's a decent enough class. So one day, Jimmy walks into his history class, right? And, you know, he gets in there, and normally the teacher's the first one in the class. Normally the teacher's there, like, I don't know,
15 minutes, 20 minutes early, just because it's the first class of the day. They get there early anyways, and the kids have to do like a morning meeting or something, or they have to do like meet up with their advisors. I don't know what they're doing, but basically just know that the teacher gets there before the students. So anyways, right, Jimmy just walks into his history class one day, and he gets there, like, right as he's supposed to, which, you're normally supposed to get there, honestly, a couple minutes before when you're quote-unquote supposed to. But Jimmy always kind of rode the line, but he was never really late by more than, like, 30 seconds or a minute. It worked out for him, and the teacher never complained. So he gets there at his normal time of basically being a second away from being late. And, yeah, as always, everyone in the class is there, except this time, his normal teacher isn't there. So he kind of just he thinks it's a little weird, as this is the first time he's been here before the teacher, and he just kind of sits down and, he starts talking to one of his friends who he normally sits next to. It's as always, the beautiful, the wonderful, the glorious, the fabulous, unassigned assigned seats. So much better than assigned seats. Ugh. Just shivers run down my spine when I hear someone say that. Anyways, right, he's sitting there, he's talking with his friend, and they're looking at the clock, and it's like 1 minute past, and then it's 2 minutes past, and as time goes on, minute by minute, right, they're just like, guys, why is the teacher not here? And then all of a sudden, 7 minutes past when the class is actually supposed to happen, the door slams open, and this woman walks in, and they're all just kind of like, hello? The woman walks in and says, hi, I'm your substitute teacher. And they're like, oh, shoot, our teacher's out for the day. And they're like, welcome, hope you enjoy your stay or whatever. Whatever kids say, I don't know. Anyway, so the substitute teacher walks in. She explains, that she's the sub for the day. And, she says, okay, so what are we guys learning? And they just kind of look at her like, okay, teacher. We're learning about European history right now. And she says, oh, yeah, I know a thing about Europe or whatever. And they're kind of just looking at her because she's really, weirdly unprofessional. And I'm not saying you have to have, some, some kind of, a British accent and speak like the Queen or something to, teach a class. But, she was kind of, holding herself not like a teacher would. And she was kind of, acting kind of sloppily. I don't mean it, weirdly like that. You guys are weird. But anyways, right, so she's like, okay, European history or whatever, sure, we can do that. Everyone's just totally weirded out by the way she's acting. She's acting really weird. But she's like, yeah, okay, we can do European history. Anyone know where we start? And the class is like, oh my God, this substitute teacher knows nothing. And they were feeling bad at first, man. They thought that, it was actually, it wasn't her fault, right? They thought that, it was so last minute that their teacher canceled so last minute that the substitute was kind of just thrown in there and had no idea what to do. Jimmy, the subscriber, the one who sent in this story, you can send in stories too to my Instagram, linked in the description, or the app is in the description. Jimmy, such a wonderful kid, right? Such a good guy. He decides, he says, hey, substitute, here's my textbook. We're probably today, I looked on the syllabus the day before, we're learning from page, 50 to 60 or whatever, or 50 to 55, doesn't really matter. She's like, oh, thanks, appreciate it. Can I see that? And Jimmy's like, yeah, sure. Comes up to the front of the class, hands her the textbook, goes to sit back down. And they're all just they're sitting down, and some of them were kind of giving Jimmy the side eye because they kind of thought that they would be able to get away with not doing anything today. So, yeah, not everyone was a fan of Jimmy being, the angel child of the class. But honestly, man, he did the right thing. They were going to have to learn it eventually, and it was either, they were either going to learn it, in the normal time they were supposed to, or they'd have to learn it crammed into one day, and then they wouldn't be, whatever, right? Either way, Jimmy did what he did. And they're all sitting there, and Jimmy's being oh, maybe that wasn't the greatest idea. I could have gotten away with doing nothing today, but whatever, man. Whatever. It is what it is. I did the right thing. Teacher will be so proud, or whatever. I don't know. And the thing is, right, the teacher looks at the textbook. She gives it a she's kind of squinting, and she's kind of and she kind of looks up at the class, and they all kind of look back at her do you have any questions, substitute? Do you have any questions about this? The substitute teacher was just looking at the text so intensely. And then she looks up at the class and says, I thought Europe was a country. And everyone's like, what? Jimmy said that he thought at first that she was joking, right? That she was just having some laughs, having some goofs. Okay, she's the funny guy here, right? nah, she was like, everyone kind of at first, like some people did really think that she was joking around, having a little bit of a jest, right? You know, just goofs, whatever, all for the good laughs. But she looks at them with a very sincere face. She's looking at them like, guys, I thought Europe was a country. And they all just look back at her like, oh, ma'am, like, you're mistaken. I don't think you're qualified to teach this class. But anyways, right, nevertheless, she plows along. She starts reading through the textbook, and normally where the history teacher would have been like looking at the textbook briefly for reference and then teaching the history, the substitute was just reading from the textbook, which, you know, at the end of the day, she's a substitute. Maybe she was like studying math or whatever. Maybe she's better at, I don't know, like other fields of study and not European history, which if she thought Europe was a country, then I really hope she did not major in European history. But anyways, she keeps going until she hits another point in the history textbook that she's very confused about, because the United States of America comes up. And at this point, they were looking at history in Europe when the United States of America was founded, right? And she looks at it and she's like, wait a minute, this is wrong. And they're like, oh, you found an error in the textbook. Like maybe there's a grammatical error. Maybe there's a date that's wrong. Maybe the photo is supposed to be of George Washington, but they put Daffy Duck instead. Who knows? She says, it says here that America wasn't America founded in 1945? Yeah, America was founded in 1945. And the whole class just looks at her with their mouths like dropped on the floor. They're just like, dude, there's no way. There's no way. There's literally no way. There's no shot. There's no shot. There's no shot, guys. No, she didn't just say that. No shot did she just say. They all look at her like, nope, sorry. United States of America was not founded in, what did you say, 1945? No, that was not the case, substitute. That was, Miss Substitute Teacher. Nope, not the case. The secret phrase of the day is, you guessed it, 1945. So if you made it this far into the video, comment 1945 down below. I just like to see how many people made it this far into the video, because we gotta pay some, you know, homage to the founders of the United States in 1945, when the United States was obviously founded. So make sure to comment that down below. And yeah, while you're at it, subscribe and leave a like, and you'll receive literally nothing. I'm feeling generous today, boys. Feeling extra generous. So yeah, do that. Yeah, so 1 like on this video equals 1 cool history fact, such as the United States was founded in 1945, or Europe is a country. Anyways, yeah, back to the story, because it gets worse. It literally gets worse. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it gets, just listen to the story. So at this point, the kids are just completely shocked. Everyone in the class, including Jimmy, right, is just like, dude, what? Why? Right? And then all of a sudden, right, when you thought that the teacher, like the substitute teacher, was bad, right, she says, all right, I need to take a break. What? It's a 45-minute class. You came in 7 minutes late. Why do you need to take a break? Why do you need a break? Bro, you're being paid to teach a class and you miss like 20% of it already. That math was probably wrong, but 15% of it or whatever, right? And you're only here for like 40, 35 more minutes, or total. You're probably at that point only had like 20 minutes left. You're like, dude, I need a break. No, this is too much work for me. So anyways, right, she whips out her phone and starts calling someone. The whole class is like, what? Okay, so when she takes out her phone, right, she's like, hey, babe. When someone like picks up, she's like, hey, baby. And the whole class is like, hey, yo, like, what? And they're just like, please don't be weird. Please do not be weird. They're all just sitting there, and she's looking at the phone, and she's like, kind of like twisting her hair, and then she bites her lip a little bit. Everyone's like, yo, what? And she's like, yeah, I've been bad. And the whole class is like, yo, dude, what? And she's like, I'm ready to be punished. And the whole class is like, yo. Right, so Jimmy. Good old Jimmy, just solid kid Jimmy, right? 10 out of 10, outstanding guy. 10 out of 10, 3 stars. 3 out of 3 stars, by the way. He's like, he raises his hand, because he's just done with this. He's just done, right? He raises his hand, and he's like, can I go to the bathroom? And she looks at him quickly like, yeah, whatever. And then goes back to like her moan fest or whatever with her boyfriend on the phone while the entire class is just completely pale-faced and in shock anyways, right? So Jimmy, he makes his escape plan. And by the way, a little tip, little hint for you guys, he has no plans on going to the bathroom at all. Yeah, Jimmy was not about to go to the bathroom on this one. Jimmy instead walks right by the bathroom, right up the hallway, and right to the principal's office. And he goes up and he knocks on the door. And the principal kind of like, says, come on in, like... And then he looks and he's like, oh, Jimmy, I didn't really expect you to be here. Because it wasn't the biggest school. And the principal kind of knew, he kind of knew the people, right? He had some he made an effort to make conversations with people. And he also knew, like, who, frequently was sent to the principal's office. And Jimmy was not one of these kids. He just wasn't, right? So he's like, oh, Jimmy, like... why are you here? Like, I don't normally see you here. I think the principal assumed that, like, Jimmy got in trouble or something, and he's just not used to that. And Jimmy says, I don't really know how to explain this, so I'm just going to tell you everything. And I'm not gonna, I just told you guys everything, right? I'm not going to tell you it all again. Jimmy basically just tells you the story that I just told you guys, right? And the principal, his face, like, throughout the entire story, it just got, like, from, like, some kind of, like, a nice, like, kind of, like, smile, friendly, whatever, to, like, a straight face, to, like, do you know that Mr. Incredible meme where his face just gets, like, darker and darker and just, like, more and more just, like he's seen something terrible, like, again and again, and got worse and worse? So basically, the principal's face started out, like, on the left, and by the end of the story, it was, like, the face on the right, basically. And, then Jimmy eventually finishes his story. He's like, and then I decided to, obviously not go to the bathroom, man. Like, I don't even have to go pee. Like, I couldn't even go if I wanted to, right? But instead, I decided to come see you. And that's where we are now. And the principal just looks at him. He's like, we're going to your classroom right now. You're coming with me. So they get back to the classroom, right? They're walking down the hallway. Jimmy is, like, kind of, like, falling behind a little bit. This principal's a big guy, and he's having a very, very firm pace. So Jimmy has to even jog a little bit, man. Like, he's trying to catch up. They get to the classroom, and it's just a bunch of kids sitting there, and there's no substitute teacher to be found. And the principal's like, yo, Jimmy, like, why is no one here? And Jimmy's like, what? And the class is like, yeah, the substitute teacher actually just left. And some kid in the class, let's call him Arthur, right? He was kind of a bit of a quiet kid. He also had a side business of selling illegal test answers. He was actually a criminal warlord. Anyways, right? So Arthur, right? This kid. He didn't do any of that, by the way. But anyways, right? He pipes up and he says, yeah, on the way, she just, like, got up and said, bye, kids. Like, by the way, not even a substitute, lol. And then she just left. I don't know if she said, like, lol, but that'd be pretty funny if she did. And the principal's face was like, she said, what? And he checks his phone, and he opens up his email, and he's like, I gotta go. Class dismissed early. And everyone's like, yay, class is out. But it was only like 5 minutes early or whatever, right? And, Jimmy's just confused at this point. So I'm not totally sure how Jimmy figured this out, but later on, like a couple days later, I don't think a week later, but at least a couple days later, right, he figures out that, or he learned somehow, I think, like, maybe got leaked to a parent and then his mom told him, or somehow he learned that, like, the substitute teacher that was there that day was not their substitute teacher. And apparently, right, the principal, when he checked his email, what he saw was an email from the substitute teacher agency that, like, gives them subs, saying, like, oh, I'm so sorry, like, the sub that we had ready for you just called out sick, like, a couple minutes ago, and we don't have anyone ready. We're so sorry. You might have to cancel the class. So apparently, right, some random woman just walked into the class, and no one, like, she was just apparently, like, just looking around for, like, an empty classroom, assuming that, like, maybe someone needed a substitute or something. And yeah, she just walked right in, and no one questioned anything. And let me just say that, after that day, the Jimmy, right, he started seeing, like, guards in the school. He started seeing, like, actual guards and stuff. And there's actual, like, protocol after that moment. Apparently, it was, like, a major breach in safety. Obviously, like, the only, like, damage that was done was one kid in that class, probably that Arthur kid, probably now thought the United States was founded in, like, 1945 or something.
In today's story, the subscriber has the creepiest neighbor of all time. Enjoy. So the subscriber, who we'll call John, right? So John has a sister, and John's sister, let's call her Kate. Kate and John, right? So Kate and John, they're moving. This is like, they lived in the same house for their entire lives. But for some reason, right, their parents, it was either time to move, or they wanted to move, or I don't know, maybe the dad or the mom got a job somewhere. I don't know. Maybe they wanted a better school system. Maybe they needed a, more energy efficient place to mine Bitcoin. I don't know, man. Like, it's not my life. But anyways, right, so they're moving. And Emily and John and Kate, Emily and John, why'd I call him? Anyways, Kate and John, right? They like their old house. The move's a bit tough, but they're open. They're optimistic. They're really excited to not have complete weirdo psycho neighbors. But yeah, that's a little unlucky. I'm going to say is GG unlucky. Not well played. Anyways, right, so, Kate and John, they move into their new house with their parents. And it's moving day. There's a lot of boxes to move. And, they go upstairs and they see these empty rooms. And they're like, all right, Kate, this is your own room. All right, John, this is your room, right? And this is the Bitcoin mining room. This will be the entire second floor. No, I'm just kidding. But anyways, right, I don't know why I have an obsession with that being their reason for moving. But anyways, right, anyways. So John's bedroom faces out to the neighbor's house. Kate's bedroom's on the same floor, but it faces out to the street. It's a decently spacious house. It's a nice house. Like, there's no complaints right away with the house. Like, a decent neighborhood too. It's pretty. It's like decently. It's close to like a little mini city, but it's also like away from it at the same time, if you know what I mean. It's a nice house. They're very happy with it. But, they're moving boxes. They're moving in. John has, he's moving into his room. He's moving some boxes up the stairs. And then he hears his sister, Kate, yell, John, can you come here for a minute? And John's like, yeah, sure, whatever. She probably needed help moving something. Or maybe she saw, I don't know, man, a spider or something that, she wanted him to move. So anyways, he goes down and he's like, okay, Kate, what's up? Like, what's going on? What's the deal? And she's like, this is going to sound a little weird, but I think the neighbor was just looking at me. And John's like, yeah, okay. And he looks outside the window and he doesn't see anyone there. He's like, all right, well, they're probably just curious. They're probably just curious that, who's moving in, what do they look like. I wouldn't really think of it as that big of a deal, but, that's still a little weird. Don't like being watched, but don't worry, Kate. They're probably just like, curious. They're probably just curious. So after Kate calls him and, he goes and says that, they're probably just curious. John didn't really think anything of it. Kate was still kind of like a little weirded out. Like a little weirded out, 100%. But she didn't really think much of it either. They kind of just thought, oh, that makes sense. The neighbors are just curious to see who's moving in. Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Whatever. But that night, John, he's going to bed, and he's just like, he's playing some games, moving in. He's tired, man. It was a long move in, right? It was a long day, kind of been a long week because they'd have to like pack up the entire house. Then they had to move. Like they decided to drive, and it was a pretty long drive. They're pretty far away, right? And then they had to unpack the entire car. They had to, set up the entire house. And John was exhausted, man. So, he, just fell into his bed, and yeah, he went right to sleep. But, he had to wake up a couple hours later because he had to go to the bathroom. And, John was just walking to the bathroom, which was like outside in the hallway, down the hallway, and whatever, right? The bathroom was on his floor. And he was walking out, went to the bathroom, and he walked back into his room. And the thing is, his room, there was a window facing out to the neighbor's house. And what he noticed, right? He got a slight glance, like a little bit of a glance, and because at this point his eyes had adjusted to the dark, so he could see outside. And he got a little bit of he looked over very briefly as he was walking in, and he saw like a window, right? The window facing him. The curtains were drawn a little bit, and he thought he saw like two eyes staring right back at him. And he was freaked out for a second. He's like, oh, dude. So he goes into bed, pretending like he didn't see anything. He didn't want to startle. He wanted to be very incognito. He wanted to just kind of like slide in. He's like, oh my God, like that's kind of weird. John was sitting in bed, and obviously he did not fall right back asleep. He was sitting there like, oh my God, like, yeah, the first thing with his sister, Kate, could be excused because like, someone's just like looking at their new neighbors going into their house. Okay, that's pretty normal. But, this guy, John was walking back to his bed, right? And he was very uncomfortable sitting there because like, his bed was like, could be seen through the window. So he kind of like, held the blankets up a little bit to shield his face or whatever. Cause he was like, dude, that's not normal. Like someone was watching me at like 2 a.m. through their window. Like, oh my God. And he's like, wait a minute. What if they're still watching me? So what he does is he takes out his phone and as incognito, as stealthily as possible, he kind of turns it enough to take a video outside the window, right? And because he's facing like basically inside of the window. And he's done filming, he checks his phone, and it's very difficult to see. It's very pixelated, it's dark, it's hard for him to tell. But there's like a street lamp outside, as well as eyes have kind of adjusted, right? There's just enough light flooding in that he can see the outline of the curtains. And the outline he sees of these curtains, the curtains are drawn. Yeah. The person was still there, still looking at John through the window. And John was a little freaked out, to say the least. To say the very least, John not feeling so good sitting there. So what he did was he got up as if he was going to the bathroom again. And he walked calmly out of his room, and then he bolted down the hall, and he just went into his sister's room, and he's like, hey, and she's like, she gets up all startled, like, oh my God, was there like a fire or something? Did my dad's, Bitcoin miner like set a fire? I don't know why I'm obsessed with that backstory. I just am, guys. I'm sorry. I am who I am. And he goes into Kate's room and he basically explains everything I just explained to you. And at this point, she's like weirded out as well. Even though they don't have a direct like line of sight to her, she's still freaked out as well because they were looking at her earlier. Like, understandably, she was weirded out. And she's just like, John, what do we do? Like, oh my God, this is just so uncomfortable and weird. Like, what do we do? And John's like, okay, so we just moved. That probably means that, there's maybe a decent shot that we can like move out because of there's probably something, like there has to be something. So we basically, Kate, like you and I need to figure out a way to gather evidence as kind of like proof so we can prove to our parents, right, that this is weird. Something a little weird is going on. Something not normal is going on. So, and they sit there and they devise a plan. So they sit there and they're saying, okay, our mama is definitely not going to believe us, right? Our mom is definitely going to think that we're just paranoid, or mom and dad, right? And by no means will they just move because like the neighbors looked at us once or something, or looked at us during the normal time of day. And at nighttime, they're going to be thinking to themselves, oh, these kids are just like thinking so much, like whatever, right? But we need to figure out a way to capture on video proof that these neighbors are weirdos and that, we need to move because this feels really weird and uncomfortable. So they devise a plan that the next night, right, John was going to go back to his room which was in plain sight of the neighbors who were kind of spying on him earlier, right? But Kate, the sister, she was going to like somehow be sneakily like from a downstairs window videotaping upwards and getting on camera proof of the neighbor opening their window and staring through the window, looking at John in his bedroom. Speaking of creepy neighbors, today's secret word is neighbor. So if you made it this far into the video, I'd like you to comment neighbor down below, Neighbor. Or however it's in the title. If you don't know how to spell it, just do that. I just like to see how many people made it this far into the video. I'll try and heart a bunch of them. I can't get to them all, but I'll do my best. Also, I just like to have a little on-screen shout-out of this fan art that was made for me, which I thought was pretty cool. I'll be linking the video of it in the description, so you can go leave a nice comment or something. This was sent to me on my Instagram. You can either send me stuff or story videos like the ones I tell on my Instagram, link to the description. But while you're down there, also make sure to go to this video that's in the description of the fan art. Say something nice. Finally, 1 like in this video equals 1 nothing delivered to your door. And yeah, back to the story. So basically, right, they have this plan in motion. And, the next day rolls around. They kind of go downstairs to figure out exactly how this plan's going to work. So they go into the kitchen and they find a pretty good window that can get a decent view of the window that the neighbors have been kind of looking out of sneakily, right? And, so they scout it out and they're like, okay, how are we going to get a good light source, right? How are we going to get a good view of it? And then, they check around and then, the subscriber, John remembers, he's like, wait a minute. I do distinctly remember having a decent enough, being able to capture it on video enough, but the lighting wasn't good enough to prove to my parents. And that's when John remembered that outside, right,
there were these motion sensor lights. So basically, right, these lights, they were set to be turned off because the parents didn't really like them because, there's like animals and stuff that would like run around, and then these like really bright lights, almost like very, very bright lights would go off, right? And, they turn them off, but you can manually turn them on and turn them off. And the idea would be they would flood the backlights with a lot of light, kind of showing like what, was caught in the motion sensor. And, John was like, those would definitely have enough light. And those kind of like flood the entire back of his house. And that's where the neighbor's house would be. So it would light up, that would be definitely enough light to catch them on camera successfully. So now the working plan that they had decided would be that, Kate would go downstairs. She would set up her camera to record, and she would kind of wait for the neighbor to start like watching, right? And, Kate would then, once the neighbor started watching, she would set up the camera and just like leave it there. That's like recording a good view of the neighbor's outside window. And then what she would do would be is she would go to another window, not in the kitchen, in the room adjacent to it, have the window be down and have like a stick or a rock or something and just throw it outside, right? Just throw something out. Yes, maybe the neighbor would see it, but either way, it would trigger the motion light. And that would be the plan. And then, they catch the neighbor on video, and then they'd have video proof. And so anyways, right, that was the plan. And, the night came around, and, subscriber John, right, he's a little freaking out. He's not feeling so good, right? Because he's basically like, okay, so I gotta be the bait, basically. I unfortunately gotta be the bait. I gotta be like the little, piece of fish kibble trying to bait in a massive shark. Like, I don't know how I'm feeling about it. Like, whenever someone has to be the bait in one of these like movies, it's always like the high risk, low reward type role. It's like, it's just like, what are you gonna get? Like, obviously, it's an integral to the plot. It's integral to the plan, of course. They need to do it. However, right, it's a little unlucky. It's a little GG unlucky for that guy. Like, poor John, he needs to sit there knowing that the neighbor is going to be weirdly looking at him, just like staring, just like, okay, bro, hello, sir. But anyways, right, he gets over himself and he's like, you know what? I do not want to be in this house much longer. And if I do this for one night, we have a decent shot of moving. So I'm just going to get over myself. So anyways, right, the night rolls around, and, John, he's sitting there in his bed, and he was playing some games, and then eventually he decides to turn off his light, and he's just on his phone. And he's going to make it look like he's just kind of like maybe just like going on Instagram, checking the Bitcoin miner app. I'm sorry. I'm stuck on that. I'm stuck on that plot line. And he's just going to be on his phone, make it look like he's just in bed, looking at his phone. And while he's doing that, right, what he's actually going to be doing is he's going to be communicating with his sister, as well as kind of being like, just online, checking out what's happening, just communicating in to see what's happening, right? So while that's happening, the sister's going to go downstairs. So John gets into bed, and he kind of like, he gets in there, he turns off the lights, and he just like sends a message to Kate. And he's like, okay, what's the deal? And so Kate's downstairs, and she's waiting, and then she sees it. She's waiting, she's looking out the window, she's on her phone, she's looking up, she's a little bored, and then she sees the curtains part just a little bit. So Kate immediately sends a text saying, okay, they're looking, and John's like, okay. And she's like, okay, I'm recording. I have my camera set up. And she can't text John again because she's recording this with her camera. So John just has to wait there because he knows this as well. He just has to wait there. So Kate is like, she sets up the camera. She runs into the room next to the kitchen. And, she looks up again to make sure, because she's got one shot with this, because if the person goes away and the floodlights turn on, they're probably not going to look out the window, at least for another second, right? Or at least they might even wait a couple days or weeks before they start doing it again. So she's like, I got one shot with this. She just kind of peeks over into the kitchen. Yep, her phone is still on. It didn't shut off or anything. It wasn't like, low battery mode, we stopped recording. Or like she also made it had on like do not disturb, so her friends would just like call her at the worst time possible. So she's like, all right, screw it. Takes like some kind of I think a spatula or something from the kitchen, throws it out into the yard, and thankfully she gets it in line with the motion detector, and she turned it on. Like what they did was earlier, they made sure to flip it on like right before like John went to bed. And sure enough, the lights flash on, and like completely flood the backyard with light. The lights were way too bright. That was one of the reasons that they were manually turned off. And yeah, sure enough, it catches, the person in the window. I mean, Kate looks up through the window, the room next to the kitchen, and she sees the person very clearly looking at them in the window. And they actually like shut the curtain. And Kate runs back into the kitchen, grabs her phone, stops recording, checks back at the tape, and sees it. They see the person basically in perfect light with this floodlight. And Kate, sends a text to John. We got him. So basically, right, John grabs a blanket, a pillow, and goes and sleeps in Kate's room on the floor because he's like, yeah, okay, we got proof of it now. I'm not being like delusional or insane or anything. I'm not sleeping in my room. And yes, so the next day rolls around and they say, hey, Mom, can we talk for a second? And the mom is like, yeah, sure, what's up? And, they basically explain everything that I explained to you. And then they show her the video and it's very clear. And the mom says, wow, like, your dad and I actually have experienced the same thing like 2 nights ago. And believe it or not, we're actually in the process of moving. We just didn't want to scare you kids saying that the neighbors were stalking us, basically. But they're really weird. We got freaked out. And thank you guys actually a lot for bringing this to us because now we have something to show our tenants, like hard proof. We were just going to try and change it up and say that like there was mold or we didn't like it or something. But oh my God, yeah. And the kids are just like, oh my God, wait, like, you guys knew? And they're like, yeah, we just didn't want to scare you. We're planning on moving out like actually tonight, believe it or not. I was actually just about to like sit you down and kind of try and explain it to you guys without freaking you guys out. And they're just like, oh my God, like, I guess that worked out. So yeah, that night, John and Kate, they packed up the house with their parents and they were in a motel for like 1 or 2 weeks. And then they actually moved into another house. And it was like basically the realtor like saw the complaint, was like, oh my God, that's like, I'm so sorry. Had like a house in limbo, let them stay there for like a couple months. And then they eventually were settled in their forever home, happily ever after, or at least I think. Subscribe if you haven't already. Watch another story video on screen and 5,000 likes on this video and I'll unironically join the Illuminati. Peace.